Good morning. All Souls Day. Ha! Made it another year. Let there be a light. So, I believe this is the day where we are enjoying to remember those dearly departed loved ones in our lives. Oh, my Lord. Oh. Can't get rid of that kitchen light, can I? No, never mind. Here we are anyway. Oh, just did. So, now I insist upon seeing it this way. I've been chastised, as it were, in the past for seeing it this way, but there we go. I'll see it this way if that's how I want to see it. Thank you very much, or no, thank you indeed. I have been given the blessing of my own personal suffering. So, a broken marriage with a woman, my former wife, who'd been sexually abused by her own father, but it was all my fault, which is utter rubbish anyway. I never saw my son from the age of 15 months old, that's Robert Francis, and by the age of 18, deprived of the love of his father and his father's family, he committed suicide. So that's my personal tragedy. 35 years ago I met that woman, and God has given me, blessedly, this rock solid faith through those decades. People turn against God if there's a tragedy in their lives. You know, how can a loving God allow such a thing? I'm well aware of that. In my own case, it's my choice. Everyone has a choice in these matters. And so my love of God from Christ has grown over the decades as well. So we're enjoying, you know, I've been blessed, and my personal life with wonderful elderly gentlefolk, my parents, wonderful mother. I used to hoik my clothes up from Bristol University to London over the weekend, so mother could do the washing. I was trained to be a medical doctor, and I can still see her darning my socks. And dear old Dad, the kitchen was the place he walked through on the way to the workshop, and Mother did the home and all that side of it. She'd been a maternity sister in her day as well, but she was a traditional mother, and I have an older brother who's in Harley Street as well. We're sort of a medical family. Just a frog, I'm not sick. And so I really couldn't have had a more normal, blessed, just ordinary middle class upbringing. In my own family life, that of my parents and so on, back and whatever, doctors, nurses, farmers, that sort of people behind me. So lucky old me in that respect, and then along came this personal tragedy. Well, at the very least, it's given me the opportunity to explore the depths of despair, quite frankly, way beyond whatever one might have thought possible. If anyone had said to me, this is what you're going to go through, prior to any of this, I would have just sort of given up. And it is devastating. The death of a child in childbirth. I mean, just any number of tragedies one might consider in one's life, and people dying of cancer ever so young, and just endless stuff that goes on in the world. I've been emoting so much about this awful genocide in the Holy Land, but Sudan seemingly is even worse. And then someone just reminded me about Nigeria, troubles there, and troubles in the southeastern corner of the Congo and Rwanda, and just so it's part of the human condition. And then what's always been my sort of guide, I am a Christian, I love God through Christ, so ultimately I'm accepting God's will for me, that's the way it is. But as a human being, it's not what happens to you, it's your human response to whatever it may be that matters. The story I tell is I was working in a big hospital in London, the Central Middlesex. Is that right? No. Oh, botheration, I'm forgetting the name now. Was it the Central Health? Anyway, huge long corridor. And I used to work in theatres before I started my training to be a medical doctor. I was just a theatre orderly. And these two people, both had leg amputations. And one I just remember, he said, sort of one down, and he was devastated by it, clearly. And the other one was just wheeling himself about and getting on with it. Not to say the one who, was going through miseries, as it were, didn't pick up later, but just, I've always remembered that somehow. How did the one respond so cheerfully and the other not, or whatever? In the midst of grief and suffering, I mean, it's just, say nothing, quite frankly. There's nothing to be said more often than not. Just hold and pray silently with someone who's lost. But then, I don't know, other countless instances can come to mind of how suffering happens in one's life, a loss, personal loss. You're angry at God. It's definitely one of the first responses, that how can a loving God allow this, and so on and so forth. God is the boss. When I finally found out about my son, years later, no one had told me I'd been banished from the family through the English court, so it was all my fault. Oh no. Anyway, my former wife managed to tell her pack of lies, and the little judge allowed himself to be tickle his little tummy. His Honour Judge O'Connor, 351 Silbury Boulevard, Central Milton Keynes, back in the day, 1993, when I was banished. I last saw my son when he was 15 months old. That was it. Anyway, when our family found out about it, through a neighbour of my former wife's parents in a small town called Islip by Oxford Town City, actually, isn't it? Number 22, Kidlington Road. They said, oh no, we went to his funeral 2 years ago. No one told me. Anyway, on the day, a friend had driven me there. I didn't have a vehicle. Actually, didn't have any money. I was living out under the arch of a canal bridge in Stone, Staffordshire. I turned to Job, and the Lord give us, the Lord taketh away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. So Job was tested by the devil. It's all there in the book of Job. But essentially God said, okay, here's this God-fearing man. You can test him. But Job lost his family, his first family, and everything, and material, and everything, property, and so on, and his health as well. But he wouldn't give up his faith, is the absolute moral of the story. And then later on, he was basically rewarded by a new family and so on. So the old devil did not win, is the message there. If you keep your faith, don't allow, speaking to myself, I'm not lecturing anyone else how they cope with their grief of a loss. But how I've got through it is turning to God and accepting his will. Where is my son's soul? And that one I still can't answer. You're not meant to commit suicide, obviously. That's sort of part of Christian teaching, I think. Right, so All Souls Day, it should be a time for rejoicing, I think. One remembers the good things, as I say. My dear old mum, darling my socks, she used to make these beautiful, just fruit cakes, just sort of basic fruit cakes too. And there was a sort of the half-day fruit cake, the day fruit cake, the week fruit cake, and occasionally a month fruit cake. So if we start with the month fruit cake, that was when Mother wasn't on form, and it would be a little rock. I gradually worked my way through it, but the half-day cake was beautiful and spongy and straight out of the oven and wedges of butter on it. And it disappeared in half a day. So stuff like that. Just little happy moments shared with one's those around one whom one loves. All Souls Day, all day, Sunday. I've got a nice big roast. I've managed to get a piece of pork at £2.75 a kilo, which is an absurd price. It should be at least £6. So some poor old pork farmer, pig farmer, is suffering again. Oh Lord. Robert, the old man, roast, lucky me, eh? Rejoice in the Lord, that's all I know. And my blessings, I've got this nice little wee house rented. There's a story behind. That's fine. Let's cool up. My little friends, no soulmate to join me. Cheerio. Let's have a little blast as well. They pray these midnight vigils, 2 hours plus every night, Carthusian monks. So in the Latin, and then they speak the Bible readings in French, which I love too. Cheerio!